Hello, my name is Ryden. I am here to talk about Amos Yee's latest video on egalitarianism. Amos Yee is a young man from Singapore who has made more than a few videos about his griefs with society, focusing primarily on Singapore and its government. Before I get into the video, I want to state that up until recently I was really rooting for this guy. He made me laugh and wasn't afraid to fight the system, facing approximately 2 months in prison for his anti-Islam videos. However, lately, Yee has been... Sorry, Amos, I'm an asshole for this, but your name is goddamn hilarious. Don't sweat it though. If I had a cool name, my channel wouldn't be a pseudonym. Alright, without further ado, let's take a look at Yee's... Sorry, I can't. I honestly can't. I still generally like this guy too. It's like having the last name Foomp or something. It's just so much fun to say. Okay, sorry, let's get on to Amos's video on egalitarianism.
Let's strive for equality! Let's strive for equality!
I don't know if that's how I'd personally go about drumming up support, but yes, I agree. We should strive for equality. Pay attention to the wording there. Strive.
Egalitarianism, a trend of thought that favors equality for all people, which is, of course, absolute bullshit.
Ooh, look who believes in absolutes all of a sudden. No, seriously though, how is that absolute bullshit? Even in the definition, it's clearly stated that egalitarianism favors equality. How can wanting something and working toward it bullshit? Maybe you'd have a point if it said it attempts to create equality, but that simply isn't the case here.
Of course, absolute bullshit, and is one of the few things I agree with dead Singapore dictator Lee Kuan Yew.
The human being is an unequal creature. This is a fact. And we start off with a proposition. All great religions, all great movements, all great political ideologies say, let us make the human being as equal as possible. In fact, he is not equal, never will be.
Now, it may be, but wait, what the hell am I even looking at right now? Why does his mic stand look like he's coming from some kind of wonderful World of Tomorrow expo or something? Is that a drum set? What the f... Getting back to the topic at hand, just because we aren't perfect doesn't mean we shouldn't try to head in that direction. What kind of logic is that? We aren't immortal. Does that mean medicine is bullshit too?
Let me make it clear that it's an empirical fact that social equality doesn't exist.
It is an empirical fact that Leonardo is the best Ninja Turtle.
Some people are better than others. For example, I, a creative genius with an estimated IQ of 134...
I hate to nitpick, but at least around here, genius is usually around the 140, 145 range. I know, I'm an ass.
...is worth more than a retarded person.
Not to the retarded person's mom, I bet. Or me, if you keep putting out content like this.
Depending on whatever factors an individual judges someone based on their own personal subjective judgment...
Whoa there, famous Amos. I thought this was empirical fact. I agree with what you're saying. In fact, I more or less just made the same point. But doesn't that go against what you said before? And what does this have to do with egalitarianism anyway? Other than the fact that the reason it even came about is to try and correct for the bias of the individual to reflect the views of the populace. Like the famous quote, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
One individual will be worth more than another. You might not want to admit it, but it's true.
Okay, but why are they worth more, and who are they worth more to? Don't tell me you actually think an IQ test tells you how much you're worth to society.
Equality really is a problem with the democratic process of electing. Really, everyone's vote should not be equal. People who are informed politically should have their vote be worth more than the politically apathetic, uninformed Joe. Unfortunately, until science evolves where we have a device which is able to record the relative political knowledge of a person to see how much his vote is worth, sadly, there isn't a better alternative when voting.
Egalitarianists do not claim that everyone is equal. It's more about not giving unfair advantage to any individual or group of people. It amazes me that the way forward is to attempt to develop the machine from Futurama that determines your worth to society.
Well, might as well get it over with.
Delivery boy, no discernible skills. Accepted! 'Cause I like his pants.
Yes!
Some races, genders, and statuses, attributes that you are born with, will be considered better than others. Get over it.
Yes, and you don't think that's a problem? You realize if the world was egalitarian, you probably would never have to have gone to jail, right?
In my opinion, historically, Jews are the best race, whites are better than blacks, males are better than females, and Buddhism is better than Christianity and Islam. And that is absolutely fine. What is wrong with having a subjective opinion that one group is better than another?
When you're in a position of political power, any kind of power, that's a humongous problem. You don't see the issue because you don't have much control in society. But when people seize control of a country and, for example, think
Jews are the best race, whites are better than blacks, males are better than females, and Buddhism is better than Christianity and Islam.
those groups of people deemed better will be arbitrarily given a head start in society, which is oppressing the rest of those groups. Jesus, you have no idea how hard I'm resisting breaking Godwin's law right now.
Does that mean that I condone racism, sexism, and discrimination? Of course! And it's absolutely logical to do so. The issue is that society has made those words, racism, sexism, discrimination, have negative connotations.
Oh, is that what it was? And I thought judging people based solely on how they're born and not their personalities, skills, or merit was a bad thing. But Amos Yee is all for it. God damn, dude, I used to think you were smart. I'm starting to think you cheated on that IQ test.
Think of the two disgusting movements in the West which sprung up because people tried to attain an equality that will never happen. The horrendous Black Lives Matter movement, and of course, the disgusting feminism. Retarded females and black people going on the streets fighting for an equality that doesn't exist.
Now, I do want to say that I absolutely abhor these two movements. I condemn many of their members and many of their actions. However, this is only because they are fighting for a cause which has already been achieved, for the most part, in Western society at least, which is where these two groups primarily operate. Genders and races are basically equal, at least in the eyes of your average egalitarian. Let's say you were around in the days of black slavery, Amos. Would a pro-black movement still be worthless and a waste of time should slaves have just accepted their role in society? You're black, sucks for you, now get back in that field and like it. I mean, come on, I thought we were past this kind of shit.
Think of the two disgusting movements in the West which sprung up because people tried to attain an equality that will never happen.
Nope, the problem isn't that what they want is unachievable, the problem is that what they stand for generally has already been achieved. So now they are attempting to lift their particular groups above those that used to oppress them. They are a threat to the equality we have, not proponents of equality that they need.
However, though I condone discrimination, I do not condone enslaving black people, not giving females the rights to vote, or making gay marriage illegal. I oppose those actions viciously.
That's what equality is. These are things that egalitarians fight for.
Because people are under a horrendous misconception. Those issues were not about achieving equality. When Martin Luther...
What? What exactly is equality if not two people that can do the same things? That is all egalitarianism stands for, is equal rights and opportunities.
When Martin Luther King held his civil rights movement, it was not about attaining equality, although he claimed that it was.
Hey, shut up, Dr. King. You don't know what you're fighting for. I know what you're fighting for. You see, Amos, your video isn't against equality. It's actually against homosexuals. Yep, the whole thing. You claim to be speaking out against egalitarianism, but I have decided that you are actually a homophobe. See, you can't really do that. I'm pretty sure Dr. King knew what he was talking about better than you do.
It was about attaining freedom for African blacks. When an action creates inequality, that's fine. When an action violates freedom, then that's wrong in my book.
Okay, so what is an action that creates inequality but perfectly preserves freedom?
Which is why it's very disturbing why two of my favorite atheist YouTubers are socialists.
Oh, hey, those are two of my favorite YouTubers, too. In fact, it's my dream to make it onto the Drunken Peasants podcast one day. Oh, one day.
The rich should have the rights to decide whether they want to help the unfortunate.
Now, why do I feel like you wouldn't hold that opinion if you yourself were poor? Now, I don't know you well enough to determine your exact tax bracket, but the fact that you have a multi-room house, a recording device, and internet fast enough to upload to YouTube in Singapore without dying of old age leads me to believe that you might need a little perspective before you go around saying the poor should fend for themselves. It's not like if some billionaire offered you a yacht, you'd turn it down because you didn't go out and earn it yourself. And if you did, then can I have it? I plan to sell it and use the money to help the poor.
Egalitarianism doesn't mean you are helping the poor rise up the social ladder. It means you're helping the poor rise up the social ladder by disenfranchising the rich.
And this is somehow not violating a poor person's freedom to have access to basic amenities and, biological needs. If only you had been born poor, then you could happily struggle to get food and water until you finally croak in an alleyway. At least with a dying, raspy breath, you could say, "The system works."